Good morning, class 10. So, today we are going to start a new chapter, that is chapter number 3, the two stories about flying. And there we can see there are two stories. His first flight, written by Liam O'Flaherty, and the second part is Black Aeroplane, written by Frederick Forrest. So, today we are going to discuss the first part, that is his first flight. So, talking about Liam O'Flaherty, he was an Irish novelist and a short story writer and was born on 28th of August 1896, and he was born in a remote village of Galway, Ireland, and he went to Rockwell College, and he became a popular literary figure with his best-selling novel The Informer. In 1900 it was published in 1925, and the next novel Return of the Brute was also a great success. So Liam O'Flaherty will be, remembered as a major voice of Irish literary renaissance. Now, this story to his first flight. Here, the story is about a young bird, about a young seagull who is afraid to fly for the first time, and he believes that his wings would not support him. But he found that despite of his younger siblings, they were flying fearlessly with much shorter wings. But he couldn't gather the courage to do the same. That's why he was punished to stay hungry. But it was his mother that compelled him to fly by using food as a trap. So the whole lesson, this is the story. So the whole lesson reflects how one hesitates to take the first step, and that is fear, right? All in the mind. So here the author is saying one should trust one's abilities, because the fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself, right? So today we are going to I'm going to explain the chapter line by line. Okay, let's start from the beginning. The young seagull was alone on his ledge. Ledge means what? You know, a narrow horizontal, uh, you know, shelf of a wall or of a cliff. So the young seagull was alone on his ledge. His two brothers and his sisters had already flown away the day before. He had been afraid to fly with them. Somehow, when he had taken a little run forward to the brink of the ledge and attempted to flap his wings, he became afraid. And the great expanse of sea stretched down beneath, and it was such a long way down, miles down, and he felt certain that his wings would never support him. So he bent his head and ran away back to the little hole under the ledge where he slept at the night. So the story is about a young seagull, and who is at the stage of his life where he has to learn how to fly. But his young brothers and sisters, they are flying fearlessly, but he is afraid to fly. And when all of them went for flying for the first time near the edge of the sea, only the young seagull, he didn't go, he didn't join, because he couldn't trust his wings. He got terrified by the vast sea, and he got convinced that he could never fly. So as a result, he was ashamed and disheartened, That's why he went inside the ledge where he usually slept. Now see, even after, even when each of his brother and his little sisters, whose wings were far shorter than his own, ran to the brink, flapped their wings and flew away, he failed to muster up the courage to take the plunge which appeared to him so desperate. His father and mother had come around, calling to him shrilly, upbraiding him, threatening to let him starve on his ledge unless he flew away. But for the life of him, he could not move. So now see, his younger siblings, they have managed to fly, right, with their wings, and their wings are shorter than the young seagull. But this young seagull, he could not summon the courage of flying, right? That's why he was scolded by his parents, but he was afraid because he couldn't even move. Now see, that was 24 hours ago. Since then nobody had come near him. The day before, all day long, I had watched his parents flying about his brothers and sisters, perfecting them in the art of flight, teaching them how to skim the waves and how to dive for fish. And he had in fact seen his older brother catch his first herring and devour it. Devour means eat quickly, okay, devour. And standing on the rock, while his parents circled around, raising a proud cackle, and all the morning the whole family had walked about on the big plateau midway down the opposite cliff, taunting him with his cowardice. Cowardice means cowardness, fear. So now see, he had been alone for the whole day. He tried, but his parents were busy focusing on the other siblings, right? They helped the his other siblings, and they became the master of the art of flying, and they are diving for food. And his older sibling even caught his fish first, right, which he proudly ate at the rock while his parents celebrated it. And that morning his parents taunted him for being a coward, right? Now see, the sun was now ascending the sky, blazing on his ledge that faced the south. Heat he felt the heat because he had not eaten since the previous nightfall. He stepped slowly out of the brink of the ledge, and standing on the leg with the other leg hidden under his wing, he closed one eye, then the other, and pretended to be falling asleep. Still, they took no notice of him. He saw his two brothers and his sisters lying on the plateau, dozing with their heads sunk into their necks. His father was preening the feathers on, on his white back. Preening means cleaning, right? His father was preening, and only his mother was looking at him. She was standing on a little high hump on the plateau, her white breast thrust forward. Now and again she tore at a piece of fish that lay at her feet and then scraped each side of a peak on the rock. The sight of the food maddened him. How he loved to tear food that way, scraping his beak now and again to wet it. So now the sun had risen and he was feeling the heat, and he was in empty stomach since the night before. That's why he stepped out of the ledge and pretended to sleep on the one leg to gain the attention of his family. Still no one noticed him. His siblings were sleeping, his fathers were cleaning his feathers. Only his mother was standing on another plateau eating fish, and she noticed him. And the seagull got mad on seeing the fish because he was very hungry. He loved to tear away fish, but he was unable to do that. Then see. Ga, 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 he cried, begging her to bring him some food. Go, go, Kula. She screamed back derisively, but he kept calling plaintively, and after a minute or so he uttered a joyful scream. His mother had picked up a piece of fish and was flying across to him with it. He leaned out eagerly, tapping the rock with his feet, trying to get nearer to her, and she flew across. But when she was just opposite to him, she halted, her wings motionless, the piece of fish in her beak almost within the reach of his beak. He waited a moment in surprise, wondering why she didn't come nearer, and then, maddened by hunger, and he dived at the fish. Now see, his mother had noticed him, right? And his mother noticed that he was crying in hunger. Right? That's why his mother flying towards him with a piece of fish, and he got excited as he came nearer, and then he leaned forward, right? And suddenly she stopped not too far from him, and out of excitement and hunger he dived at the fish without realizing for a moment that he was afraid to fly. See, with a loud scream he fell, dived at the fish. He fell outwards and downwards into the space. Then a monstrous terror seized him and his heart stood still. He could hear nothing, but it only lasted a minute. The next moment he felt his wings spread outwards. The wind rushed against his breast feathers, then under his stomach and against his wings. He could feel the tips of his wings cutting through the air. He was not falling headlong now. He was soaring gradually downwards and outwards. He was no longer afraid. He just felt a bit dizzy. Then he flapped his wings once and he soared upwards. Ga ga ga, ga ga ga, ga. His mother swooped past him, her wings making a loud noise. He answered her with another scream. Then his father flew over him screaming. He saw his two brothers and sister flying around him, curveting and banking and soaring and diving. So see what happened now. He got so excited that he fell as soon as he tried, and for a moment he was in shock, and he stood still out of the terror. And all this lasted only for a few moments. And as soon as he realized that his feathers opened as if flied. He could feel the wind against his breast feathers, stomach, and his wings, and he could feel himself that he was cutting through the air, and he was not afraid anymore. He was just a bit nervous, but then his mother accompanied him, and the whole family screamed out of excitement. They were celebrating the victory over his fear. Then he completely forgot that he had not always been able to fly, and commended himself to dive and soar and curve, shrieking shrilly. Shrieking shrilly. Shrieking means one kind of sound, right? He was near the sea now, flying straight over it, facing straight out over the ocean. He saw a vast green sea beneath him with a little ridge moving over it, and he turned his beak sideways and cawed amusedly. So once he overcome his fear, he forgot that he was once afraid of it. He did all those things he once feared. He, he flied straight over the sea and could see the greenery and the mountains beneath him, and he screamed out of joy. He was very happy indeed, right? His parents and his brothers and his sisters had landed on the green flooring ahead of him. They were beckoning to him, calling shrilly. Beckoning means, showing some gesture, right? Calling shrilly, he dropped his legs to stand on the green sea. His legs sank into it. He screamed with fright and attempted to rise again, flapping his wings, but he was tired and weak with hunger, and he could not rise, exhausted by the strange exercise. His feet sank into the green sea, and then his belly touched it, and he sank no further. He was floating on it, and around him his family was screaming, praising him. Their beaks were offering him scraps of dog fish. He had made his first flight. So when he landed on the sea, on the ocean, his family landed along with him, and as a gesture were they were very proud of him, and they were screaming and shouting in excitement, and and then he went into the sea, where at first he got scared, but he tried escaping, but he got tired and weak because of hunger. And when he calmed down, he started floating in the sea he was once afraid of. His family was celebrating in excitement and offered him food as praise. And finally, he had overcome his fear, and he had made his first flight. Right? So here, what is the theme of the story? So the theme of the story is, you see, the story is the story is a story of hesitation, trial, error, and finally getting success in the end. Right? So, the moral of the story is that no one attains success instantly. No one gets success instantly. Repeated trial and errors lead him to reach his or her success. Right. So you have to try. You should not afraid of anything. You should try first, right? You see, you can fail, but you have to stand straight. You have to rebuild it, because failure is the pillar of success. You should not afraid of anything. So the moral of the story is that no one attains success instantly. Rather, repeated trials and errors lead him or her to reach her success. Right? So please go through the text, the very interesting story, and we can learn many things from this topic. It's an inspirational and motivational story, right? Thank you, class.